Hi team, let's talk go bags. We did a really crash course fast briefing on your go bag on Thursday, but there was a text going on, particularly with the two teachers, with the twos, with the yearlings and the lambs, about procedure during an emergency. So because I just kind of threw this orange bag at you on Thursday, I wanted to take a few more minutes and sort of describe what's in it and talk about what you would use it for and why it's in there. So the first thing that you'll find is your folder. And in your folder, the first thing that you'll see when you open it up is your class roster. We have highlighted your kiddo if they have an allergy or a medical alert. So they have their names in red and they are highlighted in yellow. So that's the first thing that you will see in there. I have also included a whole school roster. So you would have everybody in here. But for the twos, immediately following your twos roster, you will see the cerebral seizures treatment. And there is bullet points and step-by-step of what to do if you suspect that a child is having a seizure. And you all can read. So I'm going to send an email with this document attached to it. I won't go through it bullet by bullet. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you are worried or if you have concerns or you don't understand something in it, then just ask me, but it's pretty easy. In a nutshell, you would help her to lay down, turn her on her side, and keep her from harming herself and let the seizure run its course. But you can read the bullet points. There's 1, 2, 3, 7 bullet points. Immediately, the process is immediately call 911. And it says that on your roster on page 1. It says right below it, if you suspect the student is having a fever, contact Jill or the office right away to administer medicine. Call the parents as soon as possible. And if you fear she's exhibiting symptoms of a seizure, call 911 immediately. So you wouldn't stop. You wouldn't ask questions. If you think she's having a seizure, you would call 911. And that goes for anybody that you would suspect is having a seizure. What are symptoms of a seizure? I am also including that in my email that I'm going to send you. Okay, so I'm also going to be including in each of these a really good anaphylactic printout for us as well. And I've also included a YouTube video in my email about how to identify those signs. So also in your folder. So the first page is the roster and then the seizure, because that's what we have right now. And I'm also going to include anaphylactic. I don't say that word very eloquently. Also in your folder is emergency response guide, fire, severe weather, urgent situation, violent incident. It's a little cheat sheet, how to identify what type of emergency you're having. The next page is severe weather. The next page is fire. And we all know that we meet at the Good Shepherd statue, if you're able, at the front of the campus, right outside the front of the church. And if you cannot get there, go to the nearest safe place away from the fire outside of the building, and never take an elevator. In the back of your book, I have a notes sheet for you, kind of a cheat sheet that if you wanted to, you could get out. I also included some notebook paper here. And per my text, it's always good to take some notes when you're dealing with an emergency. Who, what, where, why, what have you done, who's hurt, etc. Then I also put a first aid cheat sheet here, how to care for wounds, broken bones, burns, shock, CPR, and conscious choking. And if they go unconscious, then you would, your CPR and first aid training would kick in. And then poison, I put the number for poison control in your folder too. And then this is a lockdown sheet. And the terms that we will use for lockdown at Little Lambs are hold, which would mean hold in your room, clear the halls, hold at the nearest area, so keep the children in one area until the all clear is announced. Do your business as usual. You can teach, you can play a song, You can have your kids in your room, but we would have our kids in the room. Secure is get inside and lock all outside doors. All of us here, our doors are always locked, but I would be checking. Lockdown, lights out of sight. Lock lights, out of sight. Students, move away from sight. This is where you would be going into your bathrooms and shutting the door. Evacuate. Leave everything behind and evacuate the building and follow instructions of authorities. I don't know when they would have us doing that. The only thing I can think of is if there's a neighboring facility, like maybe the Lutheran church down the road, or maybe when the Beth Israel temple was going on, if that facility had started to breach its barrier and come into the community, they may have started evacuating other buildings and facilities around the area, but we would just follow instructions and go wherever they told us. Shelter in place, hazard and safety strategy. It could be for something besides weather. It could be a gas leak. It could be an environmental cause of some sort that they would have a shelter in place. So that cheat sheet is in here as well. So what is the procedure? Or anything that you would want to know would be in this folder. I promise you, from having so many people in my family in law enforcement and emergency medical, from being a military wife, going through all the trainings, going through my airline training, teaching emergency evacuation procedures, I can promise you that emergency services would rather go get a cup of coffee. I promise you, they do not mind. If you are in doubt, dial 911, get help. They're more than happy to come and say, oh, you didn't need us? That's fine. We're happy to come. It's their job, and they would rather get there and say, oh, false alarm, we're so sorry, everything's okay. Don't ever worry about calling them. You can't undo time. So time is your friend and your enemy in an emergency. So that time it takes to call 911 and explain what's going on, it takes some time. And so all I can say is dial 911 and then call me and then call the parent or whatever. But dial 911 first if you're in doubt. I promise you, that is always okay. So what else is in this bag to help you in an event of an emergency? We put our official door stopper of Little Lambs is a Lincoln Lawn with rubber bands on it. You have a noisemaker if you had an intruder, or let's say you were out on the playground and couldn't get help, you could use this noisemaker. Excuse me, it dropped out the floor. And it's pretty loud. If you want to test it out, you are more than welcome to. Please go outside and do it. I will not do it here so I don't alert anybody. But if you were out and you couldn't get a signal for some reason, or somebody was hurt, and you could blow this for help. This would also scare off an intruder. Noise helps. So twofold, two reasons that you would have that. So those things I wanted easily accessible, as well as your flashlight. I don't know if it'll show on the phone here, but this flashlight also does a strobe light feature like that. So that would be good in a power outage to show somebody where you are. So we had these on the airplane that would flash like that for help. So that is on your outside pocket as well. If you've never gone into the men's and ladies' room in our storm shelter place here at Little Lambs, which, by the way, I think you all know, we covered it. Our designated area for severe weather is the men's and women's rooms by the elevators right outside of our hallway. If you were ever in there and a power outage happened, there's no emergency lights in there, so you would need that flashlight. That's why that's easily accessible. On the other side, I have your hand sanitizer, easily accessible. In your front pocket, front bottom pocket. Janice, these bags are amazing, by the way. Kleenexes. You could also stick a few grocery bags, or I don't know, whatever you wanted in there, because there's quite a bit of room. In your top bag, or top pocket rather, and you could switch this around. I mean, this doesn't have to be like this, is your first aid kit and a pair of gloves. There's actually 2 pairs of gloves in there. And in this bag, there's this tiny little pocket here. I threw some grocery bags in here. So like you just have a Walmart bag or a Target bag in here for garbage. I'll say this, it's up to y'all to keep these stocked. you can ask me like, hey, I'm out of Band-Aids, I'm out of grocery bags, I'm out of Kleenexes. I'll help you. But I don't know if you've used it if you don't tell me. So, I mean, in a big emergency, I would know, but just I would check it. I would check it every week, maybe every couple weeks, and just make sure that you have garbage bags and that your first aid kit is stocked, which I have not taken the time yet to go through every first aid kit, but that is on my list to do as well. In the big part of your bag here will be your folder, as well as I gave everybody a brick of wipes. So, and then in this pencil pouch, I'll show you what's in there in a minute. And then you also have these ice packs that break open. So if you had a head wound or a pinched finger, you could break this open right away. Again, I don't know if these have been used unless you tell me. I opened up a couple of bags from last year and noticed that they had been used and not replaced. So I wouldn't know to replace them. Maybe not. I mean, if I filled out an incident report, maybe, but I don't know if you got ice from the freezer or ice from your bag. So in this is some Ziploc bags. I put some small Ziploc bags inside of a big Ziploc bag, and I think this one actually has another grocery bag. There's a Sharpie pen in here, more gloves, and a little notebook. So familiarize yourself with your bag and take a look at your folder. I will also be sending you some links, like I said, on seizures, on peanut allergy, and when your throat closes from the allergy, anaphylactic, and the AED and fire extinguishers here on campus, so that you know how to use those. By the way, did you know that we have 2 fire extinguishers in the Little Lambs hallway? And I think you knew, or I think you all know that nearest AED to us is right outside of our door by the atrium. If you do not know, let me know and I will point it out to you. It does have child keys in it. I'll tell you a little FYI. Usually, I actually have not heard or read that it actually works on a child. It could work, but a child, if they're having heart failure, is probably not due to defibrillation, which is the only time the AED would work. So, but put it on, because that saves time too. And there's the video in there tells you, like, if you've got that thing out for a reason, again, time is your enemy and your friend. On the airplane, we would just, even if a person was talking to us, if they were complaining of heart problems or chest pain, we put those pads on them right then. We don't have to plug it in. It won't shock unless it needs to. So you cannot hurt somebody with an AED. So that is our little training video for the team. Thank you for tuning in and watching it. I think that's it for emergency procedures. Your procedure is to dial 911 right away after you've assessed the situation. This will all be detailed in an email, but I wanted to physically show you. And when we arrive at school on Tuesdays and Thursdays and even Fridays, it's so hectic and everybody's running and trying to get ready for their day. And I felt like I was just like, here's this orange bag, go. And then clearly that was the case, because the twos were asking some questions. I was like, it's in your folder. And I understand that's okay, because I threw it at you and said, go read this. So it was like a flyby emergency crash course. So that's that. I'll also be putting this in your email, or I put this in the email, which is drafted already and ready to send to you. There's an acronym called SAFE. So secure and be safe while you respond to somebody. So that's the S. Secure and be safe. A is assess. Assess what's wrong. Is it a wound? Is it a bee sting? Are they not breathing? Is it an intruder? Is there something burning? So assess the situation. The F is for formulate a plan. So what is your plan? And this sometimes in an emergency would happen simultaneously, but what is your plan? What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to stop the bleeding first, right? If I can, and call somebody to call 911, or I'm going to stop the bleeding and then grab my phone so I can call 911. So you're kind of planning, and your training would kick in. And the E is evaluate and see what else needs to be done while you wait for help. So SAFE, safe, we call it a safe briefing. We would talk about this every single day before we went to work. So I think it's just good training and good practice for us to keep these procedures at the front of our minds. So maybe every few weeks we can get back in our bags and take a look and assess as needed. I think this is a good start for a go bag for our team. So if there's something that's not in the bag that you really want in the bag, let me know. Or if there's something in the bag that you think is really stupid and you don't want in the bag, let me know that too. So hopefully this helps. Thanks for your 16 minutes of time. Make sure that you log this or add it on to the beginning or the end of a day when you're actually clocked in or out. Okay, bye. God bless. Be safe.